Hello, and welcome to this explosive unit on volcanoes. An erupting volcano is one of the most beautiful and amazing things that you can see on Earth, but it's also one of the most dangerous. In places like Indonesia, volcanoes play a very important and spiritual role in everyday life, and they are worshipped by thousands of people. For example, until very recently, there was a man living on a volcano called the Gatekeeper. The local villagers said that he was able to speak and communicate with the volcano. I said there was a man living on a volcano because, sadly and ironically, he was killed by a volcanic eruption. However, I am sure there will be others like him because the volcanoes play such an important role in their culture. When we think about volcanoes, the first thing that comes to mind is probably a cone-shaped volcano with a smoking crater. This is accurate of many, but in fact there are several different types, as they vary in size, shape and category. The first of the three categories is extinct. Scientists define extinct volcanoes as unlikely to erupt again. This definition doesn't sound so scientific, does it? The second, perhaps more worrying category is dormant. Basically, dormant means sleeping, so they can suddenly wake up after hundreds of years. A good example of a dormant volcano is Mount Vesuvius. Before its infamous eruption in 79 AD, Roman writers describe Vesuvius as a beautiful place covered with gardens and vineyards. But that was before it exploded and buried thousands of people under red-hot volcanic ash. The final and most interesting category is active. Once again, the scientists are surprisingly ambiguous and use expressions like regular eruptions, whatever that means. So how many active volcanoes do you think there are in the world? 100? 200? Well, you might be surprised to know there are actually 500. That's a lot of potential destruction. So let's take a look at some of the other famous volcanic eruptions. One of the biggest explosions that we know about was on the island of Krakatoa in 1883. It was so powerful that scientists calculate, they are a little bit more accurate this time, that it was 13,000 times more powerful than the nuclear bomb that devastated the Japanese city of Hiroshima at the end of World War II. That's 13 times. Krakatoa killed more than 40,000 people, and the noise of the explosion was so loud that it travelled for 5,000 kilometers. That's like being able to hear an explosion in Central Africa when you are in Italy. We also have several modern-day examples of volcanoes erupting. For instance, at the end of 2010, one of the most powerful volcanoes in Indonesia was producing enormous amounts of molten lava and poisonous gases. Sadly, it took many lives and even erupted for the second time while the local people were burying the first victims. To make matters worse, this particular disaster demonstrated the connection between some of the deadliest forces on the planet, as earthquakes and tsunamis devastated the area almost simultaneously. Indonesia has a very, very long history of volcanoes, and some say it was home to one of the deadliest. Some scientists say that Lake Toba in Indonesia was a supervolcano. A supervolcano is almost impossible to imagine, as it's hundreds of times more powerful than anything we have ever experienced. Interestingly, there is a growing theory among scientists that an eruption in Toba killed thousands and thousands of people and also made humankind extinct, only leaving between 3,000 and 10,000 survivors on the entire planet. These supervolcanoes that almost destroyed the human race changed the climate all over the world and devastated huge areas of land. It sounds like something from a Hollywood disaster movie, but the very, very worrying thing is that, apparently, there is one of these supervolcanoes deep under Yellowstone Park in America, just waiting to erupt. If you think about the damage a normal volcanic eruption can cause, can you imagine what a super volcano would do? Maybe it's better not to think about it and hope that it doesn't happen for a few more thousand years. But, just in case it does, I'll say ciao forever.